What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over the crazy roller coaster that we had, what the data points are saying, and what might be coming next. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go down slightly, 1.02%, 26.13 the low, 27.46 the high, and a lot of volume. So 72.8 million shares being traded, 64.1 is the average. Most of the volume actually did come in the second half of the day while Powell was speaking, and as well afterwards. So goes to show that everyone was just waiting for the big head honcho to speak. We did have a couple data points that did come out first thing. So we did have building permits and starts. They came in a little bit lower than the forecast, but the market didn't generally care, so this didn't move the market at all. But we did get the 25 basis points that we were anticipating. Even after that did come out, though, it didn't really move the market all that much. Probably not as much as what a lot of individuals were kind of portraying, but Powell. So when Powell was speaking, this is where you had all of this craziness. And to be fully fair, every one of these rate decisions and Powell speaks, it's always these crazy swings. And I saw some of the comments that he was saying, and honestly, they were very doom and gloomish. And it's kind of interesting how the market is really wanting to focus on the positives. So of course, Powell signaled that the 25 basis point cut that was done today was pretty much to help save the labor market. He did also signal that he anticipates inflation to go higher due to the tariffs, so he's still back on that. But at the end of the day, he does feel that the 25 basis point cut that was done today isn't going to be enough to really save the labor market. And so essentially he kind of alluded to more cuts. And so based on their projections right over here, it looks as though that there's a anticipation within 2025 for 2 more cuts, 50 basis points. And so of course, market being as efficient as it is, it automatically assumes 25 for October the 29th and then 25 for December the 10th. So if we get 75 basis points worth of cuts in 2025, that would be huge for the broader market. Of course, a lot of things that Powell, the reason why they're doing all these cuts isn't necessarily the best, but in reality, we'll kind of just have to cross that bridge when it comes down to it. And even aside from that, based on SoFi's kind of customers, like we have high FICO scores, we should be pretty a-okay. And I believe Anthony even mentioned that in the last fireside chat, or it might have been the previous one. But nonetheless, SoFi's executive team isn't really worried about any disruptions for SoFi. So again, that's kind of a quick summary of that. SoFi, there was no news, no SEC filing, so it was just largely piggybacking off the broader market. There was one tweet that I did see on social media, and it was this right here. So it's a kind of a lot of good data right here. And so ultimately this column does show the date of cuts. So it kind of goes and analyzes after a cut, what does come. And so ultimately this column does show the next 6 months and how the market does really kind of turn out. And so you saw in 2019, 1986, probably long before a lot of you were born, 1989, 1990, that technically after the 6-month mark, it was in the red. But if we look under the next year column, technically every single time there's been a cut, there is a 100% likelihood that we close higher. So again, historically speaking, if this is accurate, then technically we should be higher than we are now. So once again, for those individuals that have a long-term time horizon, definitely that's pretty much the best data that we can get. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. I feel like this time around in 2025 is a very different circumstance than a lot of these like 80s and 90s, because we are at like all-time highs. So I'm sure a lot of people might take some kind of digesting to actually believe this, because yeah, if we look at just generally where SoFi is at, for me to say, hey, yeah, you know what, there's pretty much a good 100% likelihood that we're going to be higher 1 year from now, some people might be like, what are you talking about? We're going to have a massive recession. So I'm sure this might throw some kind of give some bears some aneurysms and stuff like that. But shorts, they did return 59,000 shares today. 8.51% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 100.23 million shares overall being shorted. So tomorrow might be the first day since I think 2023 that SoFi's had less than 100 million shares being shorted, assuming again shorts return tomorrow, which is fair to assume that they will, because that's pretty much all that they've been largely doing. And over the next couple of trading days, we don't really have that much in substantial data that's going to move SoFi and the broader market. Looking at the options, 92 million in calls, 11 million in puts, and then 46% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. Most of that was actually leading up to Powell, so probably that was some hedging, and then while Powell was speaking, because again, Powell was very doom and gloomish. So I don't think that this is fully accurate and a good representation of today, only because there were so many different moving parts. But aside from that, from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of around that 28 to 28.50 by the end of this Friday. Bears are anticipating for it to consolidate to kind of that $25 range. So kind of weird stuff. Maybe that again was done prior to Powell and that there was some anticipated pullback because of that. But nonetheless, these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. So once again, during after hours, we see some pretty good transactions: 1.1, 3.3, 3.8 million, 1.02 million, 3.4. So a lot of big transactions as per usual. So good stuff to see. Dark pool, we had this one right here. So this one was 43.4 million. As I've shared with you in the past, dark pool is very difficult to actually tell what was a buy and what was a sell, because dark pool, the whole purpose of it is to stay anonymous. So you kind of have to do a little bit of deeper dives in some cases. So you have to see where the stock price was at this time, look at the transactions before and after, just to kind of see exactly what did happen. And so ultimately, if we look before and after, didn't really change the price. It stayed constantly at 27.14. And even at that time of this, it kind of shows that it was actually moving higher. So in my opinion, this was a buy. Again, technically we'll never really know, but looks like some institution did buy $43.4 million worth of SoFi, so 1.5 million shares. So pretty good stuff. That would be absolutely epic if that was Anthony Noto. You can only imagine if that actually was Anthony buying, the stock price would just boom. If he pulled like an Elon and bought at these highs and just this amount of dollar value, that would be crazy. That instantly would probably put SoFi at like the $33 range at least. But even aside from that one, 3.3 million, and ultimately with it closing at 27.14, it is now trading between this R2 and this R1. So 26.54 is going to be a strong support. While it was going down, it kind of just blew past that, so I wouldn't really consider that extremely strong support. 27.96 and then 30.25 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. So I think in reality tomorrow, all eyes are going to be on that 27.96 to see if we can kind of break above it. If we're going to have a certain level of FOMO, possibly might not be tomorrow, but I would assume Friday is where we do get above this R2. So we'll just have to wait and see. There wasn't any new analyst ratings on a side note or anything along those lines. Quickly going over here, you did not really see that much in articles coming out associated to SoFi. Just a lot of just, in my opinion, clickbait type of stuff, like why is SoFi down? And even if for those of you that watch and click on a lot of these, it just goes over very basic stats, so nothing really crazy. Looking at the flow, algos weren't really that active in comparison to what they normally were, and you saw outflow significantly greater than the inflow, so 532 versus 497. So again, something to keep in mind. But nonetheless though, SoFi still above that 10-day moving average. Even if we move over to the weekly, this is epic. And to be fully honest, if they told me back when it was like at $12, hey, guess what? In almost like 5 months, we're going to be at $27 or $28, I would have said no. No way in hell that we'd be at like this type of price action. And SoFi, and just generally as well, the broader market has really surprised me. So hats off to them. I'm just glad that while this was running up, I didn't sell covered calls. I think I did, but then I closed it early on when it was kind of roughly around that $21, $22 range. But nonetheless, on the actual chart, things are still looking pretty good. A lot of willing buyers, still some sellers. So $28 range might be a little bit of a battle, which of course matches with that fib level. So again, don't anticipate us to easily get past that 27.96. So you might see some volatility there. Stochastic RSI, it is rather overbought on a side note. So again, if we do have some negative news that does come out, whether it be specific to SoFi or the broader market, you could see some consolidation. So just once again, keep that in mind. But let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Are you buying? Are you selling? What is your kind of takeaway from Powell? Again, I think it's one of those like glass half full kind of scenarios. It all depends on if you are optimistic or bearish. So there's a lot of ammunition that bears could use, that Powell said, that kind of shows that things aren't really going that great with labor. And he did, although mind you, say that the actual economy is very strong. So he did say that. So I think that there's that going for the broader market. But what's your kind of takeaway from all of that? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, so worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.